Good afternoon and welcome to Engine and Innovation at the Great American State Fair. I'm Aaron Szabo and I serve as the Assistant Administrator for EPA's Office of Air and Radiation. It's great to see so many of you here for what promises to be an exciting afternoon. Today we'll hear from leaders in motorsports, manufacturing, and trucking about the innovation that keeps America moving. We also get a preview of the upcoming Washington, D.C. Grand Prix and hear an important announcement from EPA. To kick things off, it is my pleasure to introduce the Administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin. Please join me in welcoming Lee Zeldin to the stage.
All right, who's getting excited for an IndyCar race right here at our nation's capital next month? Oh, just think of those sights as those cars are racing around these historic all-American landmarks. What better way to celebrate Freedom 250 than seeing the United States Capitol in the background, the Washington Monument, and having 25 of the greatest IndyCar drivers in the world right here for it. How many of you are going to be here next month for that IndyCar race? We're also going to be making an exciting announcement here today of action that EPA is taking. We'll have a discussion about that and more with 4 of the biggest leaders in trucking in the United States. So we'll have 2 panel discussions, and I'm really excited to be able to start this first one with 2 people who, gosh, if you know motorsports, if you follow motorsports, you know these 2, and some of them, some people in life, they make such an impact, that they start to get knighted in their home countries, like one of our speakers who are coming up now, a legendary IndyCar driver, one of the greatest in motorsports. First, it is my honor to invite up to the stage the president of Penske Corporation. He's also the executive vice president of human resources for Penske Automotive Group, the executive vice president of Team Penske, which competes in IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, and more. Bud Danker, the president of Penske Corporation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, many of you are here to see and hear from our other very special guest for this first panel. He is a 6-time IndyCar champion. 2003, he did it as a rookie. Most recently in 2020, he has 59 career wins. He's won the Indianapolis 500. He was knighted last year in his home of New Zealand and inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 2024. Let's give a big warm welcome to the legendary IndyCar driver, Scott Dixon.
We live?
Love it. Now, some of you may not realize, but the visionary behind Freedom 250 Grand Prix that you just saw, that awesome video, as we're all excited about what's to come next month, the idea behind it, the inspiration, the person who led the charge was Bud Danker. And being that we have Bud here, we have to start off by by asking you and getting information. Where did this idea come from? Where did this vision come from? Tell us about how you made this happen. And by the way, thank you for taking this amazing project and this amazing initiative on.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody, as well, and thank you for the invitation here, Administrator Zeldin. Really, the idea behind this happened less than a year ago when Eric Shanks, CEO of Fox Sports, and I were having a beer somewhere, and we said, wouldn't it be cool to celebrate our country's 250th anniversary by having a race in the nation's capital? And we all laughed about it. It's not going to possibly happen. How could you possibly make that happen in this city? But the next week, without anybody knowing about it, I came back here and designed a racetrack. And many, many meetings later on Capitol Hill and other places, we got this thing to happen. So we are now 40-some days away, is all, from creating some amazing magic around this area here. Imagine Scott Dixon racing a car on Pennsylvania Avenue at 190 miles an hour. That's how cool it's going to be.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, I'm sure nothing this big happens without a few challenges along the way. This wasn't the easiest path, but what were some of the challenges that you faced for anyone who's out there who wants to bring an IndyCar race to a hometown near them?
Especially in this city right here. You know, originally the racetrack was around the Capitol. It was up Constitution Avenue and First Street and down Independence, but that required a congressional bill. And you know what it takes to get a congressional bill done here, right? You probably know better than anybody else was. I couldn't get there with a congressional bill. So the president actually and Secretary Duffy asked me to move the racetrack off Capitol Hill, which I've done. And now, after I did that, 5 days later on January 30th, the president gave me an executive order to have our race. We're now having it. Obviously, it's a lot to happen between now and then. This property here is owned by the Department of Interior. Across the street is owned by the Capitol. Across the street over here is owned by the National Gallery of Art. See what I mean? A lot of different stakeholders you have to go to get this thing to happen, but we're making it happen. I've got a great team of people that are out here in the audience as well, and we're going to have an amazing spectacle August 22nd and 23rd.
Well, we have a lot of Scott Dixon fans here at the National Mall today. We're grateful to have with us one of the most famous, well-respected, legendary drivers that you'll find of all of motorsports. And before we get to the race, Scott, if you wouldn't mind indulging us, just share a little bit about this journey, because it has been one that, you just launched out of the gate over 20 years ago. You were winning big as soon as you started racing. You never looked back. Just if you could share any perspective with us about this incredible journey you've been on, we'd love to hear it.
No, thank you. And I've got to say welcome to everybody coming out today. And thank you for the amazing intro, man. You should be at like MMA fights and doing all those, or WWF. But no, it's, for me, it was definitely a journey from a country far away, obviously with New Zealand, small country as well, to finally get here on the big stage. But my dad had serious passion. My mother, too, raced a little bit and ended up watching my cousins race at the age of 7, got into go-karts and into junior categories, and first came to America in 1999 to really try the American dream. And it has been nothing short of that with, the fantastic teams with Chip Ganassi Racing and Pac West at one point, and to go on to win my first championship in 2003, Indianapolis 500 in 2008, and 5 championships since then. So it's been an amazing journey, but, I think America is one point, of anything is possible. And for me, coming from New Zealand, you dream big, but, obviously a small country, and to come here, just to see what everybody has, and to be here today celebrating, what we're going to have probably in about 4 weeks here with one of the big races in the world is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we have Chris Seed with us. He's the New Zealand ambassador to the United States. So, Ambassador, thank you for joining. You're now a knight. We should be referring to you as Sir Scott Dixon, right?
Yeah, Scott is just fine, but no, to be knighted was definitely not expected. I don't think anybody expects that, but definitely, a very cool situation to be acknowledged by your country and your home country. I love flying the flag for New Zealand. I haven't done the ceremony yet, so I kind of need to figure that out at some point to get the full badge, I guess, or medal or whatever it might be.
A sword?
The sword, right? Yeah, you get maybe a sword and some armor or something. But no, it's a huge, very humbling and very excited to hopefully get to that ceremony here shortly.
All right, so everyone wants to know, how do you prepare for a race like this as an IndyCar driver? This is a race that has never been run before, a route that's never been taken, especially at 190 miles per hour like this. So you can't tap into your past experience of driving around the National Mall. You're not going to have an opportunity to be able to do this a whole bunch of times before that weekend. Well, what's the prep like going into a race like this? It's never been done before.
Well, I was going to hopefully, get a rental car today and actually do some laps, but the police are pretty strict here and probably wouldn't get too far. But preparation is key, like any sport. For us, the amount of homework that goes into it, the teams and manufacturers will do scans of the circuit with LiDAR. They'll try and figure out where the bumps are. They'll set this up in simulation. We do a lot of simulation before any event that we go to now, where you sit in kind of a virtual world. It's a big room, and the car moves around on these big flat plates and mimics the G-forces and all the loading and things like that. So we'll have a little bit of an idea, but it's never really the same. And, we had a new race this year in Texas and Arlington, which was fantastic. But the simulation doesn't really do it justice. You get there, the bumps might be in different spots, the walls are in different spots and things like that. But, we'll run probably as a team, almost 1,000 laps virtually before we get here, figure out, car setups and all those situations. But excited to get here. Obviously, the first laps we'll have will be on that Saturday, the 22nd, and then the race on the 23rd. But, 190 miles an hour down Pennsylvania sounds pretty cool to me.
Oh, man. Bud, take us behind the scenes a bit as far as this path over the next few weeks and getting ready. This isn't like, when we're kids, we just set up a few cones and we start a contest. You're not just going to come out here with the cars that weekend and just start riding around. There's so much work behind the scenes for these races. And obviously, you've done it across NASCAR and IndyCar and more. If you could just take us behind the scenes for a minute of what the next few weeks are like prepping.
Well, we've got an operations team here that's been here. Now, we're all based in Michigan, so we're not based here. So now we've got our new home is in D.C. here. And I'm here now almost every single day of the week, as was my team. So every day we prepare something different. Give me an example today. Today I had 25 people with me walking the entire track. Secret Service, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, FBI, Metropolitan Police, Capitol Police, U.S. Park Police. That's what it takes to put this event on, following me around and leading me around regarding where the security walls are going to be, where the protocols are going to be, where the mag and bag units are going to be. So all the preparation that goes into this thing. But beginning on Sunday, this Sunday, we will start building the suites and the infrastructure right down here on 7th Street by the Ferris wheel. You'll begin seeing our racetrack going up. So the preparation begins and the construction begins this week. We are going to close some of your roads down. I know you're not used to that around here, right? So, but that's not going to happen until August. So a lot of planning, a lot of prep, a lot of operational things have to go into place because there's a million pieces to the puzzle that have to happen before the last piece happens. And the last piece of the puzzle is when these guys hit the racetrack on Saturday, August 22nd.
And for those you just joined us, that's Bud Danker, who's the president of Penske Corporation. We're also joined by Scott Dixon, one of the all-time winningest drivers you'll ever find in Indianapolis, in IndyCar Series, who won 6 times, starting his rookie year in 2003. Scott, just building on that, behind the scenes, obviously it's, the driver's the one who's deserving of getting knighted. But you wouldn't be able to do this, obviously, without all of the great people in your team. What is happening to make it possible for you to be ready when it comes race day and to keep you ready as you're going around that track?
Yeah, good point. I'm the lucky person that maybe gets to take it across the the finish line winning and holding the trophy up, or at the Indy 500 drinking the milk and wearing the wreath and going through those ceremonies. But yeah, with a team like ours that runs 3 cars, we'll travel with about 100 people. So there's a lot of moving pieces. Then there's a lot of 50 to 70 more people back at the base that work year round. The Indy 500 alone is you have about 11 months of preparation for that event. The cars are put together in a special way. It's a one-off car for that event. How the seams meet, the finish on it, the paint, just the different films that you use, and pieces put in different places and things like that is the development that goes on for months and months. So there are, gone are the days of finding 5 or 10 big advantages. Now it's like thousands of very small details that you really have to, tune in on. And when you're doing, I think at Indy we average, 220 miles an hour. Qualifying, we're almost, 240 miles an hour. So very high speeds. But yes, you're right. It's all about the people. Like any business or anyone trying to run a country, it's about the people and trying to get everybody to work together in one forward motion of winning. And the team that I've been with for the last 24 years, Chip Ganassi Racing, has been exceptional at that. So not to take anything away from Penske, obviously one of our great competitors. But yes, I think the simple answer to that is about the people, and we have a lot of great people.
Yeah, it's amazing how seriously they take their physical fitness behind the scenes. Those who are working the pit, I had the experience going to Talladega. We were in the place pit row where Ryan Blaney and his team were operating. I'm looking around all these pit crews, and they all are like 6'5", and they're ready to go play like professional football. Bud, if you can just share maybe a closing thought as to what you think this race may mean for the future of IndyCar racing, the future of motorsports. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be paying attention to this race and getting into racing for the first time. So what kind of an opportunity do you think this presents?
Well, first of all, the thing about this race is so unique is we developed a 501c3. We're taking no profit from this event. The second thing we did was the fact that this event for fans is free. It's all free. In 9 days, we had 288,000 ticket requests to watch this entire area, to watch the race. 288,000. So for our sport, we're going to bring a lot of new fans to it by being here, but also the people that watch it on Fox Network are going to see an event they've never seen before. Imagine racing in front of the nation's capital behind us here over my right shoulder, or in front of the Washington Monument. You're going to see that. And by the way, there's only one winner for that event. This is probably the only time you're ever going to see this event in your lifetime. So you want to watch it, you want to see it, and you want to be here for it. And we're going to leave a lasting measure on our nation's capital for the 250th anniversary. A lot has happened, including the State Fair this week, the fireworks last week. We're going to kick this summer back into gear in August with this event, celebrating our country and celebrating the America's history as well. So I can't wait for that. And Lee, I want to say, before I leave, thank you for your leadership. We have 400,000 trucks on the road every day. 400,000 trucks on the road. We sell 500,000 cars a year. You and your administration have done more for our industry and more for us and more for the consumers to keep our prices down than anybody else has in decades. So I want to thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. And by the way, if anyone wants to get tickets and they haven't gotten theirs yet, where do they go to try to get here?
You better find a friend because the tickets are all used up. 288,000 have been given out right now, so which is a great thing to have. But they were all for free. So those that weren't with tickets, find a friend that's got them and come with that person because the demand has been outstripping the supply, and we're very proud of that.
Fox Sports?
Fox Network. Fox Network on August 22nd, 23rd.
All right, same question for you, Scott. You've seen now a generation worth of experience. You have the new drivers who are coming out. You have a future that, every day there are more people who are turning into racing. If anyone had just tuned into this year's Indianapolis 500, they've never seen a race before, and they just watched, the final lap, that'll be enough to hook you into sports. As someone who has so much invested in motorsports, in this moment, as you're looking forward to next month, what do you see about the future and how we can get more people tuning in, get more people into it, get more people following, and get more future drivers recruited?
Yeah, I think what Bud kind of touched on. I think we're in an unprecedented time for IndyCar racing. The growth has just been through the roof. All the races, the viewership have been. I think the last one was up almost 100% on last year. That has continued throughout. I think 8, 9, 10 million that watched the Indianapolis 500. Still the largest one-day sporting event in the world with almost 400,000 people in attendance. So, IndyCar is in a very strong position. I think when you look at this race. Yeah, there's only 25 drivers. It's a one-off race. It's the only time we're ever going to be able to try and win this trophy. So it's going to be a dogfight out there. It's going to be seriously insane. All of us are going to be wanting to win it. But how special, for only 25 people to ever be in that position to go out there and win it. So it's a huge time in our sport. Obviously, with Fox Sports and what they've been able to do over the last year or two is insane. But the sky's the limit, man. It's been going crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sir Scott Dixon.
Thank you.
And Bud Danker, Penske Corporation.
Thank you, Lee.
Amazing. Thanks,
Keep doing what you
All right, we're moving on to a big announcement here for our trucking industry. For those who follow this kind of stuff closely, it's a pretty big deal, and I'm looking forward to being able to share it and having a discussion with 4 leaders from the United States trucking industry here for our second panel. Of course, I want to thank you all for being here today. And it really is an honor to be able to share this stage with Bud Danker, the president of Penske Corporation, and also a big thank you to Scott Dixon. I want to say thank you to leaders who will be joining us on our next panel, the people who build the engines and move the freight this country runs on. We'll be joined by Jennifer Rumsey of Cummins, Chris Spear of the American Trucking Associations, Preston Fate of PACCAR, and John O'Leary of Daimler Truck North America. Give it up for all of them. Another warm welcome to Ambassador Chris Seed of New Zealand and his entire team. Grateful that they are here as one of their own. Scott Dixon joined us on that last panel. When I took this job, I inherited a set of rules that just weren't working for truckers, for farmers, and for so many other American families who count on them. They were driving up costs, they were steering people toward vehicles that didn't fit their lives, and leaving Americans with fewer choices at exactly the moment they needed more options, not less. And since day one, we have been addressing these concerns with urgency and giving Americans back their freedom to choose what they want to drive. We've already done this, started in a big way in February, when we finalized the repeal of the 2009 endangerment finding, the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States, saving Americans approximately $2,400 per new vehicle. Additionally, President Trump signed 3 Congressional Review Act measures to end electric vehicle mandates and prevent California from forcing their truck and car policies on the rest of the U.S. Now we're here today to take another big step forward for Americans by proposing key fixes to the last administration's problematic truck engine rule. Manufacturers spoke up, suppliers spoke up, fleets, dealers, and drivers all spoke up. They warned that the new requirements couldn't be met in time, that it would drive up costs, that it would force companies to rush products to market before they were ready. In the past, Washington wasn't listening. However, the Trump EPA is. And today, EPA is announcing a big proposal to fix it. Our proposed amendments to the heavy-duty truck and engine standards for model year 2027. First thing, and maybe most importantly, Americans will feel the savings in their wallet. Our proposal is estimated to save American truckers $12 billion, up to $6,000 per vehicle on a new truck. And here's what that means for every family listening. Even if you've never driven a truck in your life, when it costs less to move goods, it costs less to buy them. Those savings get passed down to you at the grocery store, at the hardware store, on nearly everything a truck delivers. Part of how we do this is scaling back a warranty requirement from that prior 2023 rule that is the single biggest cost of all to the trucking industry. We're proposing to roll it back while keeping the underlying emission standards in place, achieving nearly 90% of the reductions in nitrogen oxide. So we protect the air and we protect your pocketbook. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We're also proposing more lead time before the rule's longer useful life requirements take effect. That's the stretch of miles and years an engine has to keep meeting these standards. More lead time means manufacturers can make sure new technology holds up in the real world instead of rushing it to market. And we're proposing something to preserve that President Trump believes in deeply: consumer choice. You should be able to buy the truck that works for you, not the one that Washington is trying to force upon you. And no single state should get the right to rules that the other 49 are forced to live by. And there's something else we are proposing, and this is a big deal that I've heard a lot about as I was traveling across all 50 states, to cut down on pollution from diesel engines, a good goal. And clean air will always matter at the EPA, but the systems that manage DEF don't always work right. When they fail, the engine does something called a deratement. In plain English, the truck or tractor slows down or stops running altogether. Now picture that. You're a trucker driving on the interstate, and your rig suddenly loses power and lurches to a halt. Or you're a farmer working to bring in the harvest, and your tractor quits in the middle of the field. It's not just frustrating, it's dangerous, and it's expensive. Last year, in August, we issued new guidance while I was at the Iowa State Fair to help fix this issue. Alongside Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, we announced a significant reversal to DEF deratements. Over 2 million engines in the United States have already had this new guidance implemented, so your vehicle will never be slowed to 5 miles per hour again. And these companies that will be on stage with me here shortly, and others around the country like John Deere, are continuing to roll out fixes to millions of more engines. We didn't stop there. This past February, we affirmed your right to repair your own tractors and on-road equipment, so a farmer can more easily fix a faulty DEF system. That same month, we requested important warranty data from the 14 manufacturers behind more than 80% of these systems to help us best understand the full scope of this issue. We've now received all of that data. And in March, acting on what we learned, we issued additional guidance announced by President Trump at the White House, authorizing the removal of the faulty DEF systems, a step estimated to save Americans nearly $14 billion a year. Every one of those actions cut costs and cut down on breakdowns. Today, we go even further. We are proposing to completely remove DEF deratements altogether for newly built highway trucks and engines, and for new off-road engines and equipment too, including the machines our farmers depend on. Here's what that means in real life. Instead of your truck or tractor lurching to a halt when the DEF system fails, you get a warning, a light, or a sound telling you something needs attention. And you keep going until you can safely pull over and get it fixed. No more being stranded on the highway, no more of your tractor quitting you in the middle of the field. It's basic common sense, it's what you asked for, and it's what the EPA is delivering. But fixing DEF is part of a bigger idea, your freedom to fix what you own. Earlier this month, in response to President Trump's recent Freedom to Fix memorandum, EPA issued guidance that protects your ability to repair your own truck, tractor, and equipment. When you fix your own gear, you're not stuck waiting on one company or paying whatever they want to charge. It opens the door for small businesses to compete and sell parts. It cuts down on cheap knockoffs from foreign countries. And it puts you back in control of the equipment you paid for. And what we're announcing today is a proposal. We want to hear from you. We'll be opening a 45-day public comment period and holding a public hearing, and then we'll work to finalize our decision. This is what it looks like to revitalize American trucking, bring back American jobs, and power the great American comeback. We are proving you can clean the air and grow the economy at the same time. Now I'd like to welcome Aaron Zabel back to the stage to introduce the CEOs who are here with us today to talk about these wins, talk about their companies, and what it all means for America's farmers, truckers, and other everyday Americans. Aaron.
Thank you, Administrator Zeldin. As Assistant Administrator for EPA's Office of Air and Radiation, I've had the opportunity to engage with stakeholders from across the trucking, engine, and manufacturing sector on the issues affecting the industry and the American people. Today's panel brings together leaders whose organizations design, build, power, and operate the trucks that keep our economy moving. Their perspectives will help put today's announcement into context and explain what it means for businesses, truck drivers, manufacturers, and families across the country. Please join me in welcoming John O'Leary, President and CEO of Daimler Truck North America, Jennifer Rumsey, Chair and CEO of Cummins, Preston Fite, CEO of PACCAR, and Chris Spear, President and CEO of the American Trucking Association. Administrator Zeldin, back to you.
Well, thank you all for being here. There's a lot of employees represented here in this group if we add it all up. So thank you for what you're doing for the American economy. First and foremost, there are a lot of people who are here who have been waiting for today's announcement and just really excited about the future growth of America's trucking industry. So hopefully here during this panel discussion, we'll be able to talk more about it with people who have incredible insight. And John, we'll start off with you. I mentioned that EPA heard directly from truck drivers, manufacturers, dealers, suppliers, and fleet operators over the past year. So from your perspective, if you could talk about this wild concept, why is it important for regulators to work closely with and listen to the feedback from the people building, maintaining, and operating these trucks every day? Wild concept.
Yeah, wild concept indeed. And I would maybe start by echoing Bud Denker and saying thanks for your leadership and that approach, because for us, we don't expect to dictate regulations, but we definitely have opinions and we represent vast constituencies and we just want to be heard. And so I would say for us now to feel like we actually are being heard means a lot to us, and it is a very different approach. And obviously we hope that continues. We know it will certainly continue under your watch. And Aaron, sorry that we're going to miss you, but you've been super helpful as well. So yeah, I think it's absolutely a breath of fresh air, and we're super happy that that's the approach that you've chosen to take.
And so that's John O'Leary. You're hearing from Daimler Truck North America. For me, it's been so important for our team to understand. We can't just sit inside of an agency building and assume we have all the answers to everything. We have to get out there into the field. We have to meet with the people who are impacted by our regulations, and we have to get it right. And I'm really grateful for the partnership. Jennifer Rumsey, who's here from Cummins. Cummins has been at the forefront of engine innovation for decades. Her customers depend on their trucks every day to run their businesses. There's also some rich Indianapolis 500 history there at Cummins, some rich Indy Series history that maybe you could share a little bit about. But I want to ask you, what gives you the most optimism about the future of American trucking and the people who depend on it?
Well, as you said, Administrator Zeldin, Cummins has really been at the heart of bringing diesel engine to U.S. trucking. We're proud of our now 107-year history and innovating for the industry. And we got, some of our early demonstration of our innovation was on the Indy track at the Indianapolis 500 decades ago. So really proud of that history and being a part of creating the clean diesel engine that we have today. And we know this balance of what's good for our customers is good for the economy and is good for the environment, and finding pragmatic solutions to really solve both of those is important. And we're proud to continue to innovate to help bring the vision of how we do that to life.
Yeah, Chris Spear, who's sitting next to me from the American Trucking Associations, I want to ask you that same question as well, just to get your thoughts on what's giving you the most amount of optimism as you look to the future of American trucking and the people who depend on it. As you look forward, in the years that are ahead, what makes you feel good about where the industry here in America is going?
Well, thanks, Administrator. I would say the ability to sit down and listen to our industry, to take into account what not just our manufacturer members have to say, but our motor carrier members that buy the trucks that they produce. And this president, your leadership at EPA, your team, has been outstanding. You sat, you listened, you've taken steps. I think beyond listening, it's leadership. We don't live in the United States of California. We live in the United States of America, and our industry operates in every state all the time, and you're providing leadership. And I got to tell you, that's such a sea change for our industry. To be able to work collaboratively with the EPA under this administration has been very uplifting. So I come to this with a lot of optimism because the trucking industry is 8.5 million people strong. It's 1 in 18 jobs in the United States. It's moving 72.5% of all the domestic freight. So everything that these folks eat, drink, wear, it came off a truck at some point. One of our folks in our industry made that happen, and you're listening to us. And I got to tell you, that really shows up on the grocery store shelves. People that are buying things, the prices you all pay are reflected in the costs we endure to deliver it. So listening, the leadership, working with our industry, these are all outstanding steps forward that give me a lot of optimism for our future.
It's just the way it really needs to always be. And we've very much valued the partnership. I'm never going to pretend, sitting inside of my office, that I have all the answers to everything. I learn stuff every single day that I'm on this job. If I was on this job for the next 90 years, every single day, I would learn something new. And what I found when I was serving in Congress is there's people who it's like a sense of pride or ego. They act like they have all the answers to everything. And I really appreciated the colleague who was willing to acknowledge what their strengths and weaknesses were. They're asking the questions to get smart on it. Preston, it's been a long time. I haven't seen you since Tuesday. We were together in Ohio at one of the factories. We had Senator John Husted of Ohio with us as well for that visit. So thank you for hosting us.
Welcome.
And, there are many Americans who view their investment in a new truck as an investment into their business. If you could just share your thoughts on, some of the top asks you're hearing from customers these days. And there's different perspectives, obviously, of what they're looking for. And as I asked the question, I think about what you were telling me when we were on the line a couple days ago about how there's you receive specific requests through the years of exactly where bolts are going on the vehicle. So this is not a very general concept. You get a lot of very specific asks from your customers. Share a little bit about what some of the top things you're hearing.
Sure, willing to. First of all, thanks to the Trump administration and thanks to both you and Aaron. What you've done, the work you outlined in your commentary, is so important for our customers. The actions you've taken make a big difference, right? We hear from our customers all the time about the spec of their trucks, and it feeds into the work you're doing, right? They want trucks that can do the job it needs to do most efficiently, most reliably, most durably. So they're in line with the EPA in making a better environment because they want fuel-efficient trucks, right? That's an operating cost. That's what you talk about in terms of delivering goods to the country. So a more efficient truck, more fuel-efficient truck reduces greenhouse gas. They want that. So great alignment of us, our customer, and the administration. And nice to see that recognized. It's not something that has to be forced on them. They'll do it of their own accord because it's efficiency. So that's one thing they want. They want reliability. What you just announced and the flexibility of thinking about product introductions that make sense when they're proven, when they're reliable, so the customer chooses, not Washington choosing, that's great for our customers too. That's numbers 1 and 2. And then you get into the fun stuff about the ability for the jobs of the trucks is so unique. They might want a dump truck. They might want a long-haul truck. They might want something to haul cattle or grain from the farmers. All of them are different purposes. So the people in our factories, the people you got to meet, really appreciate you being there. They really understand that the administration is working for them to keep the ability of a truck factory that's flexible to give the customer what will serve their best needs. Wonderful partnership.
Aaron, I have a question for you. Just putting the pitch out, we're opening up a 45-day public comment period. You put together what I was reading through, a 477-page proposal. Thank you for sending that over to me these last few days. It was always good reading whenever I get one of these proposals from you and your team. I'm just kidding. It was great. But why do public comments matter? I mean, there are people out there, they're living their lives. They're working long hours. Who has time to put together a public comment for a proposal? Let's make your pitch as to how important it is for you, for our team, to be able to get it right for people to participate.
Yeah, thank you for that, Administrator, and thank you for your leadership through all of this, and you're welcome for the 477-page document. And everyone has a lot going on, a lot of other things they are doing. But as the Administrator said, there's 45 days. Providing us your input is the most important thing you can do to make sure we know what your concerns are, what things you like, what things you don't like, so that we can make any adjustment we need for what we put out for a final rule is something that works and is right and is something that takes into account your thoughts and concerns. Whether you're an individual person, whether you're a company, it doesn't matter who you are, providing your voice is important to us because we can't solve any issues we don't know about. So please comment, let us know what, as I said, not only what you don't like, but the things you do like, because that helps inform us to make sure we can make the best possible final rule so we provide the best benefit to the American people.
And where do they go if they want to provide a public comment on this new proposal?
So first I would check federalregister.gov, but also regulations.gov, or just go to EPA.gov on our website. We have a press release out, or should any minute, and there will be links for you all to click. But you, of course, can reach out to any of us in EPA if you have questions on, and we can help you with that.
And for those of you just joining here on the panel with Aaron and I, you have the heads of Daimler Truck North America, Cummins, PACCAR, and the American Trucking Associations. They are the leaders, tip of the spear for so much of the American trucking industry as employers, as innovators, and we're just really excited to be able to have this conversation with them. And to that point, John, talking about today's proposal, it's designed to maintain strong environmental protections while making compliance more practical in the real world. If you could talk about how important it is to the industry that when environmental protections are pursued, that compliance realities are factored into that process.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's myths out there about certain industries, and there might even be one about our industry that, diesel engines, and we don't care about the environment and all that, and we're fighting regulation, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I talk to truck drivers, people that run trucking firms all the time, and I know everyone else on this DS does as well. They believe in the future, and they want to have, they've got kids, grandkids. They want to have a clean environment going forward. There's no objection to that at all, none. But it's how you go about it. Do you do it in a way that makes sense, that doesn't bankrupt businesses, that is predictable, that takes into account demand that customers have and the needs of their businesses? Like, all that stuff is really important to them. And Chris knows that, I think, in spades, even more than maybe we do, because that's the life he lives. But that, to me, is the difference. It's the fact that we're doing this in a measured way that's practical, that makes sense, and takes into account the impact it has on the everyday citizen. Nobody wants to pay $10 for an Amazon package delivery because the price of their truck went up by $40,000 because of some, emission compliance thing that wasn't necessarily needed. So, again, hats off to you for factoring that all into the equation, and I think it's far overdue.
Jennifer, I want to ask you really the same question that I had asked Preston. You're hearing from Americans every single day with their top asks, their ideas, demands. What are some of the highlights that you're hearing about? And by the way, it's a different topic, but something else maybe you could just share a couple words on is with regards to warranty. There's this proposal to go from 10 years to 5 years. Why is that the largest cost? If you could just explain that to people who maybe haven't been following.
Yeah, great. Well, like Preston said, I mean, our customers are running businesses, right? We feel a great responsibility to help them be successful in the business and the moving of goods and everything that they do for the whole U.S. economy. And we have a reputation today of having a highly efficient, reliable product, and they want to be confident that our next generation product continues to do that. We're excited to be launching new engine platforms that will be even more efficient, provide better maintenance and features for our customers, and they want to make sure they're ready and that they're reliable, and specifically have more choice and flexibility. So this emissions warranty change that you talked about is a really big deal because we're no longer going to require that everybody buy up front an emissions warranty over the whole life of the product. They have choice. Some choose to do that. That's a part of their business model, but it gives them the flexibility and choice, and from a cost perspective, could be a big impact if that was forced on them. So I think that's a great change to the rule. It's really going to help them in their businesses. The flexibility also on if there's a problem with the emission system, of course we want to fix it, and our goal is to make sure that there aren't issues. But if there is a problem, give them the flexibility to make sure they can continue the mission, right? Do the job that they're doing for all of us, and then take care of the problem. So I think those are both great changes that you've made with this revised rule that we'll certainly be supporting.
Yeah, I mean, the proposal, instead of being forced to have a 10-year warranty, if you want a 5-year warranty, you have a 5-year warranty. If you want a 10-year warranty, you get a 10-year warranty, but you're leaving the choice to that purchaser. Preston, today's proposal provides additional time to validate new technology before it reaches customers. If you could talk a little bit about why that's important for manufacturers.
Absolutely. If you think, even feeding off what John and Jen said, the customers are not opposed to technology, but they have to run a business. They have to deliver the freight. It has to be on time. They have customers, right? So if they're delivering a load to Target or they're taking cows somewhere, then they have to be able to deliver that load, which means they need high confidence in the proven capability of that product. Time allows them to experience the product and make a buying decision based upon what they've experienced in early production vehicles. It's so important for them, right? They want to move forward, but they want to do it in a way that makes sense. I've heard from so many customers, big and small, all around the country, that are like, let us try the product for a sufficient amount of time, make sure that it's really durable and reliable, so that when we buy them, we know we can do our jobs effectively and that they can make money doing it. Super important.
We have a pretty cool backdrop here. Yeah. Are these yours?
I was wondering if you would mention that, but they are some beautiful trucks back there.
What do we got back here?
We got on the audience's right a Peterbilt 589, which is just a beautiful classic long-nose conventional truck, and on the left is a very aerodynamic Kenworth T680 Next Gen. Both awesome trucks, and again, back to your first question about truck design, you see they're radically different looking, right? Because one of them is doing a job where maybe it's hauling a big tractor on the back, and so the aerodynamics really don't matter, which is something the administration understands is allowing flexibility for the job that's done. Then on the audience's left, you have this T680, which is going to haul a 53-foot van trailer, and it needs to be as aerodynamic and sleek as possible. So offering the right product for our customers so they can make the right choices to make their businesses optimized, that's what we're all about.
I got to drive one a couple days ago. Didn't crash it.
Not even close.
It was riding smoothly. Felt like I was in a sedan.
I'll just note, Administrator, though, if you pop the hood, those both have Cummins X15 engines that are built in your home state of New York. Very proud of the work our Jamestown engine plant is doing.
Jamestown, New York. I see a long line here for New York. What are they giving out in there? Is it the AC or is it the giveaways? A little biased, obviously to the New York booth, but we're all represented, all 50 states here. Unfortunately, the clouds are currently out to give everyone a little bit of a break, but that's where the AC is. So thank you to everyone who's been out here over the course of this program. Our last question, Chris, I wanted to have you just comment on one of the biggest parts of today's proposal. We want to address unnecessary DEF-related derates. If you can add your insights on why this ask has been so widely important for so many Americans.
I appreciate that question. For us, it's about safety, candidly. You've got 3.5 million drivers, delivering our goods, the things that not only we want but need, but they're also delivering it year-round in states where conditions can warrant, bad weather, say Alaska, for instance. That's the last place that you want that truck to undergo a DEF problem. So providing the flexibility to our industry not only comes from our motor carrier manufacturers, but the motor carriers themselves. Those drivers need that for their own safety. So you're listening to us, you're working with our manufacturers, they're innovating, and they're selling that product to motor carriers. Those drivers are now more empowered as a result of the work that you and Aaron and the EPA have done. So we're just very gracious for the collaboration that you provided us. So I think it's a great, outstanding move forward, and really puts our drivers in the seat. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and a big thank you to everyone with Freedom 250. There are great staffers who have been working hard for weeks. As you might have been following a bit with the weather forecasts, you might have seen over the course of the last couple weeks, it's been really hot out here. They've been working hard. They've done a great job. So a big round of applause for everyone who's been working the Great American State Fair. It's been a big success. Thank you to all of our panelists. Grateful to all of you for joining us. And don't forget, next month, August 22nd and 23rd, right here around the National Mall, it's going to be a Great American Freedom 250 Grand Prix. Hopefully you'll be able to come back to D.C. for that. Thank you again for tuning in. Take care.
Let's get a big round of applause for this wonderful panel.
Thank you. Well done.
And to all of our truckers, the backbone of America. Coming up next at 7:30 on the Freedom Stage, the Great American Hot Wing Eating Contest presented by Wingo's. Again, the Great American Hot Wing Eating Contest coming up at 7:30 on the Freedom Stage.
I hate to admit it, but I